Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, who's been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. They are at the pinnacle of innovation, dependability, and quality for espresso machines around the world. You can find La Marzocco espresso machines at some of the world's best coffee bars because of their dependability, their legacy. I've used them all throughout my career in coffee, and one of the great machines that exemplifies this is the KB90 espresso machine. Straight-in locking portafilters help solve ergonomic issues for baristas. There's scales in the drip tray for accuracy of your extractions. There's also an auto flush feature which automatically cleans the group head and increases your workflow potential. This is just one example of many different types of espresso machines La Marzocco has that will fit your needs in your cafe perfectly. And La Marzocco is available to help you make the right decision for your shop. All you need to do is reach out to info@lamarzocco.usa.com, and one of their salespeople will help you make that decision. It is definitely something I recommend you do if you're looking for a new espresso machine for any reason. La Marzocco is an amazing option. So go ahead and reach out and then visit them at lamarzocco.usa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly, who creates custom branded mobile apps for coffee shops. For independent retailers like you who want to stand out from the crowd, you don't want to be just a dot on a map. You want to be offering your customers something innovative and matching with the experience that they get in your cafe. And that is exactly what a custom branded mobile app from Espressly does. It's a no-risk model when you sign on with Espressly because there's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All of the data is stored in the app and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems, including Square. So all in all, this is a great option for you if you're looking to get into mobile apps for your customers for both hospitality and convenience. To reach out and have them get started on your app today, visit them at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everybody. Well, today we are going to be talking about the question, should you hire back fired staff? And, I've been kind of chewing on this one for a long time. It's been in my notes to cover for, maybe like a couple of years now. It came in the form of a question that somebody posted on a forum a while back. And I was just thinking about my initial response to this was just automatically no. And today, I'm not exactly sure that the automatic response is 100% correct. I think I lean towards that, where I assume that the firing was a justified firing. When you let somebody go, we assume, I think in some cases wrongly, that all of the reason why somebody got let go is their own fault. And so when we come at it from that perspective, why would we hire somebody back who has, done something or is a certain way that is antithetical to our values? There's a couple of situations where I don't think anybody could ever really redeem themselves in terms of quote unquote mistakes. We're talking about violence. We're talking about harassment. We're talking about theft. I think those three things, and you can put prejudice in there as well, things that you can't really invite back into your cafe or you can't risk it. And I think that's the big issue here is risk mitigation. We're going to be doing an episode on insurance and risk mitigation soon. And you can think about this as risk mitigation for the culture. And not only that, for the safety of your people, mental, emotional, and in some cases, physical safety of your baristas and the customers. You have to make an assessment of if somebody that you have fired has been fired for these reasons, then bringing them back, even if they say that they've changed, will maybe in your mind show that you are merciful, that you are, maybe giving them a second chance, and that, speaks highly of you in your own mind. But in the mind of the people who may have experienced that person, it actually is you visiting upon them the possibility of that person doing those things again. Even if they say they've changed, that person has branded themselves in such a way that they can't really regain the trust of other people. And let's just come out with it and say, you don't owe anybody trust. Trust is not something you owe people. It's something that people prove to you. And if somebody was let go because they broke the trust, that they would do no harm in these areas, but then they did this harm, it would be irresponsible for you to bring them back in because you think of yourself as having a big heart. In the meantime, you're kind of creating a dangerous situation for other people. And you might be tempted to bring people back who say that they've changed, that have done these things, because you're hard up for baristas. You don't have people to cover shifts. And, this person was a really great barista. And then they did this thing. And then, they stole from the till, and they were really sorry when they said that they did it. And, oh gosh, it was, they had bills to pay or something like that. And we found out that they've been stealing. And I can sense that they're sincere about it, how sorry they are. So I think I'm going to bring them back and give them another chance. And I tell you, you don't owe it to them to bring it back. And you need to be honest with yourself. Why are you bringing this person back? Is it because you really and truly trust them? If you were not desperate for somebody to, come back because of their skill level or already having a foundation of training, would you actually hire them knowing that they had that history? If you called a previous employer and you heard that they did the things in those jobs that they did in your coffee shop, probably not. And this is why I always say that you should call references and always ask questions and get the truth about a person's work history. So you need to be honest about, are you glossing over details in order to make it convenient for yourself to bring somebody in for temporary relief, when in fact what you're doing is you're inviting toxicity back into a coffee bar. So in most cases, when somebody is let go for these reasons similar to it, there is a hard no. And I don't know if that sounds like it's without mercy, but let's think about this. Your responsibility is to the people who are currently working there and the customers who currently patronize your shop. And you can't just risk the group and the community because of one individual case. It is not up to you to restore somebody in that situation. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that I am not 100% when it comes to no. And the reason why is because I realize that not every firing is justified. It's not that the person did anything wrong. It's that you might have been a new owner or somebody who unfairly fired an individual almost as a reflexive way of covering up for your lack of leadership skill or communication. You knew it was your fault, but you kind of painted them with this, they should have known, or it was up to them to sort of like read your mind kind of thing with this brush, where you let them go for, incompetence or not being 100% down for the culture or the brand or some kind of a trivial, I would say, reason that is a trumped up charge. It's not a hard and fast, no, this is absolutely unacceptable. It's more, you fired them because you just didn't like them that much, or they didn't catch on fast enough, even though the training was very anemic and didn't really equip them well. They didn't make up for the lack that you had in resourcing with their own innovation or gumption or whatever. And there's a lot of people who have been let go by bosses, managers, and owners who are really just learning the ropes and don't realize that they are actually the ones who need to do some maturing, in that the staff aren't the ones that are the problem. It's actually the owners. And where somebody might come back if they've been fired is when that is the case, when, it could be some time later and you realize, back when I first started this coffee bar, I didn't know what I was doing. And I may have treated people a certain way that didn't deserve it because I was desperate. I was actually maybe a little petty about things because I thought of little infractions as bigger than they actually were. And so people got painted with this broad brush of being, of not working out for the business because of my insecurity as the owner. If you come to that conclusion and you realize that about this person and that they were actually a great barista, if they want to come back potentially, it's a great opportunity for you to set a new precedent for that person and saying, basically, we're under new management. Like, I'm a new person. Like, this is a new situation. And that's not 100% all the time either, because when there's a firing, there's going to be bad blood in a lot of cases. They might come in and feel like, gosh, I just can't get over the fact that you let me go. And there'll always be this cloud over you. And even though you're a different owner, right, that person might always have that thing in the back of their mind where you were the one who back in the day did that thing or fired them, right, because of some reason that was not right. I mean, if they want to come back and you all are willing to kind of forgive and they're willing to forgive you for that, then maybe that will work out. And I say maybe to say that hiring back a fired individual inevitably is going to be very rare. And the reason why is because whether justified or unjustified, it's always going to be a break in the relationship that causes there to be tension. And so if you do want to hire somebody back who wasn't fired for some of those aforementioned reasons, and it was just a matter of, they didn't work out because you weren't really in a place to support them well, or maybe they were a beautiful individual that did all the right things, but just truly was not fast enough. It pained you to let them go. It pained you because you knew their potential, but you just didn't have the capacity at the moment to hang on to them without it damaging the business. That happens too. And if that person gets more work experience and matures as an individual and can come back, they deserve a second opportunity. They deserve a second chance. There's an example right there of where you might give somebody who was let go under somewhat benign circumstances to get an opportunity to come back and try again. So I guess the moral of the story here is that, should you hire back a fired person? The yes answer is in very few cases, and the no answer is in most. It has to do with baggage. It has to do with relationships, protecting the culture, the people that currently work there, your customers. It has to do with being honest with yourself about the circumstances of the firing, whether it was something egregious that can't really be redeemed and shouldn't be, that because it would risk those relationships, or if it's something benign that was simply, a necessity of business at the time. And it wasn't necessarily a mistake, but it was something that needed to be done. And maybe that person has more aptitude or ability now to join in. And maybe you have more ability to really help them as well as an owner because you've matured in the process. So in those circumstances, I think there is opportunity for hiring people back. You just need to investigate which circumstance are you dealing with here. So I hope that helps. It's a tricky situation, but in the end, with enough intentionality, honesty, and working to value those relationships, I think we can come to an honest conclusion on a case-per-case basis. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen. I hope you have an amazing day. And as always, I'll see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break. From keys to the shop.